Hi, before you watch this video, I would like to make an apology. Throughout this video, there will be slideshows that you're going to be seeing, and I didn't realize at the time, but my webcam is covering the bottom left of the slideshow. I was going to redo the video until I realized that it was an hour long, and it is late at night while I was putting it together. So in advance, I apologize for that oversight, and it will be rectified in future. However, you shouldn't miss anything anyways, because I talk in depth about what's on the slides, and you should be able to keep up. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the video that's coming up. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pixel Therapy channel. Now, today I decided I'll do something a little bit different with my YouTube channel and make a video that is, I guess, maybe tries to address some of the issues that I had earlier on this year with regards to getting new sim racing hardware. Now, specifically, what I'm talking about is the purchase of a direct drive wheel. I transitioned from PlayStation to PC earlier on this year, and I also decided to get myself a direct drive wheel. And I found that the information regarding which wheel to get, the pricing of the wheel, and maybe the compatibility of different components was all over the place. And I had to search all these forums and put them together. I mean, there are many buyer's guides to more general off-the-shelf consumer wheels, but because direct drives are still quite relatively new to the market and they are on the pricier end, it's very difficult to sort of get a concise one-stop shop which tells you what to consider, what to look at, and what options are out there. I also think due to the high price and how it can easily explode when you're going to the direct drive market, it maybe makes a little more sense to have someone sort of lay out some of the stuff that they've learned while they're doing it. So by no means is this video meant to be the ultimate buyer's guide. I mean, the market is going to change, and we're in July 2018, but it's meant to maybe help guide you in terms of what to look at and what sort of things to do. So without dragging on too much, I'm just gonna fire up that intro and you guys will get straight into the video, and hopefully you guys can enjoy what comes next. So thanks a lot, and if you like the video and you find it helpful, comment, like, subscribe, and if there's something that I missed out that maybe you want to know about, just again comment in the description below and just let me know. I will also be adding the links to most of the websites that I talk about in the description below if you guys want more information. And yeah, aside from that, peace out, enjoy the video, and I hope it's helpful. Bye! Welcome back, everyone, and what I want to do is start to put together a buyer's guide as to what is the best option for direct drive wheels. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, what I did was I prepared a mini PowerPoint because I felt that that would sort of keep me on track, and it will allow you guys to sort of visually see what's actually going on the screen, and you can sort of follow with me and you can see where we go. So what I'll do first of all is get myself nice and comfortable, and then we can get into it. So to begin with, let's have a look. So again, welcome to Pixel Therapy's 2018 Guide to Direct Drive Wheels on the Market. Now, like I said earlier on in the intro video, this isn't going to be the end all and be all. We're in July 2018, and there are many other direct drive products that are coming out on the market. Currently, the most prominent ones are the AccuForce racing wheel. You also have the OSW, which is more of your open sim wheel, and you've got two companies that really push those ahead. You have SimpliCity, and you also have SimRacing B. And maybe what I might do is I'll go back and forth within this actual PowerPoint and just kind of talk about the nuances between them and some of the things that I had to consider when I was going earlier on this year, when I was sort of looking at direct drive wheels and what I wanted to purchase. So first of all, if we jump on here and go sort of the next slide, before you purchase your direct drive wheel, you really need to think about some of the following questions on the screen. So you want to know why you're getting a direct drive wheel. You want to know, you want to take into consideration rather what your current setup looks like at the moment. What platform do you race on the most, and how much do you like to tinker and mess around with stuff? So just to expand on these 4 points here, direct drive wheels are awesome. I have one and I absolutely love it. But there are certain things that direct drive wheels will not necessarily give you as a sim racer. And you kind of have to be in a position, because it's a lot of money, you have to be in a position where you can separate what a direct drive wheel will actually give you and what is marketing hype. So basically, most of your market, your off-the-shelf market wheels, which are your belt-driven wheels, so your Logitechs, your Fanatics, and your Thrustmasters, they tend to range between 4 Newton meters of torque all the way up to about 7 Newton meters of torque, which would be your Fanatic V 2.5 base, right? Which those are very good, adequate wheels. Okay. What a direct drive wheel does is it has more torque, ranging between 30 Newton meters up to about 30, depending on what you get. And that torque, what it does is it allows more of the force feedback forces to come through the wheel. So basically, the experience you're going to get is what the developers probably envisioned that the force feedbacks in a real car would feel like. So, does a direct drive wheel make the cars feel more realistic? That's a toss-up. Basically, it cuts out all of the dampening that you get with cogs and with belts, and it gives you almost like a direct feed to what the developer's interpretation of real-world forces are like. So you will tend to find what it does is it will enhance the characteristics of the Sims that you already like, and the Sims that you dislike and didn't like anyways, it might improve those, or it might make you not like them as much. So, for example, if you were in R Factor 2 and you enjoyed the tire model in R Factor 2 and the spottiness, it clarifies that force feedback and you can feel the flat spots a bit better. You know what I mean? And it makes that, and it makes when you brake and the car loads up, you feel that a lot better. So direct drive wheels tend to cut through all the mechanical dampening you get from belt and cogs, and you get a direct feed to the way the force feedback is being transmitted from the game. So, if a game has bad force feedback, a direct drive wheel will not necessarily transform that into good force feedback. It'll just make it more evident that a game has bad force feedback. If there are force feedback characteristics you do not like about a particular game, a direct drive wheel may just, again, enhance that feeling. But one thing it definitely does is for the games that you do currently enjoy, it enhances the immersion factor of those games. So that's a positive. What it also does is because there's more torque, you can feel if you're over driving the car. It's more difficult for you to drive over the sim. The sim now tends to give a little pushback through the torque you feel in the direct drive wheel. So, does that make you faster? Yes and no. You might find if you're an alien, most guys who are aliens in that level of speed, they tend to like the Logitechs with the lower force feedback because it allows them to drive over the game, and they've got their reaction times and their track times and everything to such a point where they can anticipate what the forces are over, and they can almost overpower and drive over them and actually be in full control. A direct drive wheel fights back to a certain extent, depending on how high you set the forces. So what it does is if you are over driving the car and you're just throwing it about and you're going and there are a lot of forces such as your lateral slipped and your counter steer is kicking in, all that comes through the wheel, so you tend to find it's quite difficult for you to control it or to keep your hands steady. Whereas if you take the corners in a more smooth angle and follow your racing lines, and you're a bit more thoughtful about the way you move it, then the wheel tends to go with it. So it definitely increases the immersion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will race faster. In fact, if you were to be spending that kind of money, you're better off getting load cell pedals if you don't have them. Then you will more likely see an improvement on your lap times with load cell pedals than you would with a direct drive wheel. However, it does enhance the immersion and the feeling. So for example, with my T300 wheel, when I went into Project Cars 2 and I drove the games, they felt amazing. But then when I got onto my direct drive wheel and I drove the same cars, each car felt significantly different. I could identify that I'm driving a front wheel car versus a rear wheel car versus an open wheel car when you're starting to accelerate and you feel the aero kick in and the load pusher on the car as the aerodynamics start working. You feel that load in the wheel, and you know you're driving a high downforce car because the faster you go, you feel the load and it grips more, and your grip increases. That all gets transmitted through the wheel. So that's all fantastic. So if you're buying a direct drive wheel because you want to be faster, then that's probably not going to happen. But if you're doing it because you want more immersion and you want less dampening, and yeah, that's a good thing. What does your current setup look like? The price of a direct drive or transitioning to direct drive wheel is heavily influenced with what you already have. So which means here we're now looking at things like your cockpit. If you have, say, a next level cockpit, which is what I had before, it isn't sturdy or strong enough to actually hold a direct drive wheel, and you will find that you are going to need to replace that with something more rigid. And we'll talk about options for that later on in the slide, so that'll be fantastic. What platform do you race on? Direct drive wheels at the moment are solely for PC. There are ways in which you can get your direct drive wheel to work with consoles, both Xbox and PlayStation, but you either need to get a gimmicks adapter, which you then, and there are some ways I can do a video of that. I've done it. I have played Gran Turismo Sport with my direct drive wheel. So there are ways of doing that with the gimmicks adapter and play it on your PlayStation 4 or on your Xbox. You can play force of them, but predominantly without doing all of that or getting a gimmicks or getting any adapters, your direct drive wheels are solely for PC. For now, Fanatic is going to be releasing their own custom direct drive wheel, and that will be able to work with Xbox One, but that is not out yet. So for now, officially, direct drive wheels work with PC. So if you don't have a PC, that's going to be an additional cost for you to move on to PlayStation. Also, how much do you like to tinker? Now, this is going to help influence what product you're going to get within the direct drive wheels. There are some that are plug and play. They come with everything that you need. You put them in, you download the software, and you're good to go. Just as much as you would a Fanatic or Logitech or a Thrustmaster. And then there are others that need a little more tinkering and a little more finding bits and bobs, either steering wheels or paddles here and there, and putting them together. So if we move on next, so that's basically things that you kind of have to think about. The next thing that you do need to look at is pricing. This stuff gets really expensive really, really quickly. So before you even do this, I had a spreadsheet open and it took me about 6 months of me looking around before I actually started clicking buy on anything, because the cost adds up. And once you start purchasing something and you forget something else or you overlooked a particular aspect, you are going to actually need to purchase that thing so that your direct drive wheel is functional. So rule one, make the most of what you already have. So if you already have a sturdy cockpit, keep that and move your direct drive wheel on there. If you already have a certain brand of off-the-shelf wheel, so for example, Thrustmaster, Fanatic, that sort of a thing, look into what options you could have for modifying those steering wheels to get them to work with a direct drive wheel. Ideally, the best modifications that I have seen so far are the ones that come from Fanatic. I know Ripmotech does do modifications for Thrustmaster wheels, but to be honest, the forces that do come, especially with the bigger direct drive wheels, you probably want something a little more sturdy with a better quick release system, and there is an option for already Fanatic Wheels out there through an adapter, but we'll talk about that later on. Another thing you need to do to avoid price spikes is troll Facebook, Reddit, Gumtree, Craigslist. There's always someone who's trying to get rid of their direct drive wheels. If you go on Facebook and you get onto like race clubs and sim racing groups, or buy and swap and sell, depending on your region, you will get sim racers all together. Same thing with league forums. And the thing with this stuff is this equipment is so specialized and so niche, a person will spend easily 2 to 3 months, or maybe even, okay, maybe not 2 to 3, maybe about a good month, trying to sell some very good equipment. So if you actually take your time and look out, they might have been trying to sell the stuff for quite a while, and they are willing to get a little bit less than that what they originally wanted just to get rid of it, and you could pick up a bargain that way. So search whatever. So whether it's Craigslist if you're in the States, Facebook, wherever, Reddit is a good one, Gumtree if you're in the Australia region. Look for these online trading stores and see if you can actually pick up some of this equipment at cheaper price before you actually go and buy it off the bat brand new. Consider hidden costs. It's one thing for you to go onto the website, look at your direct drive wheel and say, yep, that's what I'm going to buy. That's how much it's going to cost me. But shipping needs to be considered. Shipping is a little more obvious because you see that at the checkout on the website. But another thing is import taxes. Import taxes are those hidden costs that you don't think about after the fact. I bought my direct drive wheel from SimRacing B. It cost about, I think it was €1,000 in New Zealand dollars. It wound up being about $1,200 in New Zealand, shipped to come to me. But then there was an extra $300 import and customs tax on top of that. So look at your local customs taxes and things of that nature, or whatever state taxes that you need to pay to get the stuff shipped to you, especially if it's coming from overseas. So take that into consideration as well. And again, be patient as well. Don't rush into these purchases. Look around. You will be surprised how much money you can save by just waiting a couple of months and keeping an eye on things like eBay and those online sites, and what you are actually looking for pops up and you can get it at half the price that you wanted. Another big thing, check the compatibility of the equipment that you already have. Right. So what I mean by this is, if you have, for example, a Thrustmaster T300 and you have T3PA pedals that come with the RJ jack at the back, for example, right? Is that going to be compatible with, say, your AccuForce racing direct drive wheel that you've just purchased? Because those RJ jacks for your Fanatic, they don't have a USB cord, so you might need a USB adapter to get that to work on your PC. Or if you have Fanatic pedals that were working directly into the base, are you going to need a Fanatic adapter to get that to work onto your PC? So small little compatibility issues like that, research those things and put them in. For example, if you get your direct drive wheel and you're putting it on your rig, maybe you might need to adjust certain things or modify your rig or drill new holes into your rig, and then you find that not everything is compatible or not everything fits. So, but we'll talk about rigs and we'll talk about setting that stuff up as we move on. Right, so let's look at the first option that we have, which is AccuForce Sim Experience. So the advantages of this is that it's modular. So you can go from the DIY kit, which is slightly cheaper. You can go to the Your Way steering system, or you can go for the full Pro system where everything is included. It's also pretty much plug and play, and the software is very versatile. Like, it works on, if you get that and you also get the Sim Experience software, it can work on your butt kicker, it can work on everything else, but the AccuForce Sim Experience Force software that comes with the direct drive wheel, you can change things like your engine tone and all that stuff. So let's jump onto the website, for example, and actually just have a look at this. So if we're looking at your AccuForce, you've got these three ranges that we have here. So for example, this is the DIY kit, where you're pretty much just getting bits and pieces of everything and you're putting them together the way you are. If you click on more info, this is probably going to be the cheapest price that you have to pay for this sort of setup. And over here, they give you all the stuff. So lead time to shipping is not too bad. It's like 2 to 3 business days from the time of payment. They tell you what's included in there, and you're looking at about 704 US dollars, right? So to get into direct drive, $700 is still quite cheap. It is very cheap, right? However, you're going to have to be comfortable with tinkering to be able to work with the system. And that was my thing. How much of a tinkerer are you? Here, basically, they give you the bare bones of everything, and you have to put it together. You have to find the mounting, you have to put the cables, the control box is provided, but basically this is all you. Another option that they had here is, if we just jump back here and go back, is this one, which is the Your Way steering system. Now this one is pretty much the middle tier, whereby they've given you almost everything, but you don't have a steering wheel and you don't have a button box connected to that. And that's also reflected in the price. We're going to from $704 to about $900. And again, with this, you want to be looking, okay, what other websites can I look at to get button box and steering wheel options? There's Ripmotech, there's eBay, you can jump on Facebook and you can find people who may have bought adapted steering wheels that they're trying to get rid of. So this is where you now start to look around and look for options. And this is where patience is required. Another option that you could look into if you're getting into a direct drive wheel is this is the pro version where everything is included. You get your steering wheel, you get your button box, and you get your direct drive solution. It's the complete kit. This is the plug and play. This is for the person who doesn't want to bother searching the internet, who doesn't want to tinker, just wants to get it, put it in, and go straight for it. And again, that is reflected with the price over there. That's about $1,300, right? So this is one of the options that's out there, and this is the more readily available option that is out there. The second option that we do have that is out there is this one right here, option 2. And option 2 is Simplicity. Now, I almost purchased the Simplicity direct drive wheel. And Simplicity is fantastic for this particular thing. They identified a very important thing when it comes to force feedback is a lot of the OSW force feedback wheels that are out there can be as powerful as 30 Newton meters. I have a 20 Newton meter version. Unless you are some sort of crazy muscle man, I don't know what you'd be trying to do, you're never going to run your direct drive wheel that high. It's all hype. If someone comes to you and says, 30 Newton meters, it's that fantastic, it's that. In reality, I got mine in March. We are now in July. So March, April, May, June, July, what are we looking at? 4 months. For the 4 months, 3 months and a bit that I've had my direct drive wheel, I normally run it between 40 and 50% of full torque. That's for all the sims. And for 20 Newton meters, so basically I'm running it at about 10 Newton meters at max. That's enough. You get to feel all the forces, you get no clipping, and if you do like an endurance race, your arms feel tight. It's actually that sweet spot where you get the forces coming through, but it doesn't fatigue you out. You can run it out higher, but trust me, once you start getting to 60, 70% torque, you're feeling it. And the worst thing is, if someone knocks into the back of you with your vehicle, it hurts. This is why you get those 100% force feedback challenges, and they're legitimately a challenge because you don't need that much torque. Not 30, not 20. The Bardner is only 16 Newton meters when it came out because they knew that was plenty. So Simplicity, coming back to this, realized this, and they were one of the biggest retailers of OSW wheels. They did a 13 Newton meter version and they did a 20 Newton meter version. But since realizing it, they've now come up with a 10 Newton meter direct drive wheel and a 7 Newton meter direct drive wheel. The 7 is close to your Fanatic 2.5 base, and the 10 Newton meter one is just above. That's probably what I run my direct drive wheel at. But the beauty is these smaller, more compact direct drive wheel models are a lot cheaper than getting into. So What is the downside with going with these ones? You don't get the option of getting a button box and a steering wheel. All right? It is pretty much you have to source those on your own, and you have to find whatever quick release mechanism you want to work with and get that on your own. Okay? So that's going to be an additional cost to it, right? But if you get, say, maybe the 10 Newton meter direct drive wheel, then that gives you a little more play money for actually looking at your steering wheel and the button box that comes with it. Another downside is I think the company is a one-man band, or it's a small company, and also due to the popularity of some of their more compact in their product, a lot of the time they're sold out. So it's a situation whereby they're very good about it. When they're sold out, you type in an email, you go on a waiting list, and usually within about 2-3 weeks, you get an email saying they've got new stock again, and you can jump on and you can buy it. But a good chunk of the time, they're sold out of the direct drive wheels. So let's check out their website, and maybe I can just bring to light some of the things that I'm talking about. So this here, this is Simplicity. The pricing, you can click on the little flag over here, and it'll actually change whatever currency you want it to be in US dollar or in euros. So just for comparison's sake, we'll put it to US dollars because we're looking at the AccuForce in US dollars, and then we can compare it. So if you jump in here, they work with a midge motor, which is pretty much your OSW. So over here, you've got the SW20. This is your 20 Newton meter direct drive wheel, sold out. You have your 28 Newton meter direct drive wheel. That one's still available for purchase. So your 20 Newton meter, you're looking at, this is just the midge motor and the control box only. You're looking at about 990 US dollars. So if you think back to your Have It Your Way kit, which was at about 800 for the AccuForce, this is a little pricier than the AccuForce. However, the AccuForce only sits at about 13 Newton meters. It doesn't even go up as high as 20, whereas this is about 20 Newton meters. So for maybe an extra $100, you get that extra torque if you want to go that high, should you so choose. But look at this. They have a 7 Newton meter wheel, and that's only for $500. That is less than the DIY version of the AccuForce, which is $704. This is $500. And then their 10 Newton meter one here is about $600. Then they've got a 12 Newton meter one, which is comparable force-wise to the AccuForce, and that's about $600. So already there's a nice range of where you want to sit within the prices. The advantages and the disadvantages of all these wheels on the Simplicity range are the same. None of them come with steering wheels. None of them come with button boxes. It's just you saying, how much am I willing to spend? How much force do I need? And where do I go? If you want to go hard out and spend $1,200 for 13 Newton meters that realistically you're probably not going to use, go for it. But I'm going to be honest with you, 13 is probably enough. The AccuForce is selling well, and it's a 13 Newton meter wheel. Fanatic is coming out with its own direct drive, and I don't think that's going to be more than, what did he say, 14, 15 Newton meters for the biggest wheel, and that's for their large fancy one. It's about 15 Newton meters. You don't need to go up to 20 and 30 Newton meters to get into the direct drive wheel range. So this is a fantastic, cheap version that you can look at and get them from a reputable company. Now, the motors that they do use, they use the, if we just click into this, and if we look at their encoders, they're still using the 20 PPR encoder, which is I don't say it's outdated, but it is not the most up-to-date encoder. And they moved on to this recently. They moved on to this about 2 or 3 months ago. Before, they were still using the 4000 or 10,000 PPR, 4000 CPR encoder. So the Synco's 2 million CPR encoder, this was the latest encoder up until about a month ago. The reason I'm bringing this up is the encoders, I think they ideally work with the smoothness and the precision of your wheel. At 40,000 CPR, that is plenty good. That is better than any Thrustmaster, better than any Fanatic, better than any Logitech out there. But they are improving the encoders. And I've found with Simplicity, they've been a little slow in updating their encoders. Okay. As for IQ Force, this doesn't apply because IQ Force uses a step servo motor, whereas this a step motor or a stepper motor or something along those lines, where this uses a proper servo midge motor. So the motors are different. So I'm comparing this with SimRacing B, which is coming up. So this is an option that you could look into. Okay, so the next one that we're probably going to bounce into is option 3. Option 3 is the option that I went with personally. And option 3 was SimRacing Bay. Now, the reason I selected SimRacing Bay is SimRacing Bay include an adapter that works with Fanatic steering wheels. So they do not sell steering wheels and button boxes with their direct drive wheels. However, if you pay an extra $30, you get a Fanatic male adapter that you can now connect a Fanatic steering wheel to, okay? Together with any button box that works with it. So, if you look at my wheel here, this is a Fanatic wheel. So, not so much the wheel. This is actually a real race car wheel, but attached to this is the universal hub. Okay, and this universal hub is Fanatic branded. So I was able to get the adapter that comes with it, which happens to be that adapter here. If I can just show that to you guys. And so if you look inside in there, you can actually see a teensy board with all the electronics in there, so that when I actually connect my USB adapter, that all works. So this metal bit here, this part right here, this bright shiny metal bit is the $30 adapter that you get when you go with SimRacing Bay. As to the internal teensy board, this black thing here with all the connectors, that comes from a separate website and that costs about $100, right? You buy that and then you put that, or you match that with this metallic bit here, and it allows you to use any current club sport wheel with your direct drive wheel. So if you already have a Fanatic V2 base and you're moving up to direct drive, then you don't need to worry about, especially if it's a club sport, you don't need to worry about a steering wheel or a button box. That's half of that cost taken care of. Because some of these steering wheels and the button boxes and these adapted wheels can go too expensive. If you're going with the really custom ones, they can be over $1,000. Or the slightly cheaper Ritmotech ones can be up to about $900, $600 to about $900. Especially, and you want a good quality one because you're dealing with a lot of forces if you go to direct drive. You cannot cheap out on that. Okay, so another advantage is because I think their company is bigger, I have never seen SimRacing Bay run out of stock. The only time when they ran out of stock was when they updated their encoders and they moved from the 2 million CPR Syncos encoder to the 4 million CPR B-Sync encoder. So clearly they just went out of stock and then they started updating it and then they put them in. But they still have some of the older models, but they reduced the price. So I'll show these to you. And so basically what I'm saying is the encoders are updated a little more frequently, and therefore your hardware is getting updated a little more frequently. When it comes to OSW, they all use the SimiCube software, whether it is Simplicity or SimRacing Bay, so the software is taken care of. But I think the SimRacing Bay hardware is updated a little more frequently. So if we jump into the website, I can actually show that to you. So that will be here. So if we jump in here, much like the sim racing experience, you can sort of look at how you want to do it. You can buy kits, which are slightly cheaper if you are into your tinkering and messing around with stuff. And if you look here, they still have so this 10,000 PPR is the 40,000 CPR encoders, or you can go to the B-Sync, which are your 4 million CPR encoders. So this is the latest stuff, right? But if we actually go to their actual direct drive, I'm just going to talk about them a little bit more. So when I purchased this year, the 4.2 million CPR encoder wasn't released yet, right? So I got the 2 million CPR encoder, which isn't here actually for some reason. They've gotten rid of that. But I was working with the Syncos encoder, so it's not here anymore. And so the nice thing about it is, if you like aesthetics, they give you an option for getting a tempered glass acrylic box, which is like your main direct drive control box unit thing, or you could go one which comes in a Coolmaster case. So I didn't know what shipping was going to be like, so I went for one with a Coolmaster case because that looked a little more rigid. The last thing I wanted was to buy this and see it cracked or something like that. But the price is the same between them. Another thing that I liked about SimRacing Bay and why I went for SimRacing Bay was one, yes, the encoder was 2 million milliamps at the time. Simplicity was only the 40,000 one, so it was more precise. But they give you the option to actually get fully shielded servo cables, and the beautiful thing about these is these cut out or they reduce EMI. You can go cheaper and get just the original cables plus an EMI grounding wire, and that cuts down the cost of it. But for the hassle and not wanting EMI interference, I got myself the fully shielded servo cables. Now, this is where you buy the Fanatic adapter. Now, the catch is they do not sell this adapter separately. You cannot say to yourself, I am going to get a cheap Simplicity 10 Newton meter direct drive wheel for 500 bucks. Then I'm going to come onto the SimRacing Bay website and buy the adapter. They will not sell it to you. They only sell the adapter to current customers. So these are the small little things that you kind of need to know before you start buying stuff and purchasing things. The reason they're doing this is I believe um, there's a scarcity for the adapter. It costs them money to make the adapter. And if they can include that in the purchase of an actual direct drive thing, so it could be costing issues. Also, it's a way to bring people to them rather than going to Simplicity, which makes sense. Simplicity can then go on and machine their own adapter, right? But so this is where you pick and you say you want it. And over here, this is where you decide whether you want the 30 Newton meter one, which increases in price, or you just want the 20 Newton meter one, which drops it down. The price difference is only like what? 30 bucks, 40 bucks between 20 and 30 Newton meters. So at $40, if you want to go 30 Newton meters, go for it. Do you need it? I don't think so. But that's just me personally. Right. Another thing is what I like about SimRacing Bay is you can actually upgrade your product. So right now I have the old 2 million CPR encoder. So I have, which encoder is it here? This one here. This is the encoder that's currently equipped on mine. Yeah, this one here. The 2 million CPR encoder. If I want, and I really feel so inclined, and I really want to get the latest stuff, I can order the new basic encoder over here for $200, and I can easily upgrade it. And if you come here on their YouTube videos, the YouTube videos come with a full set of instructions as to how to add the Fanatic Club Sport thing, and also how to go about upgrading your encoder. And you also get like Jimmy Broadband and everyone else, because this is the same racing wheel that Jimmy Broadband uses. It's also the same racing wheel that William Marsh uses. Gamer Muscle uses this. Simplicity is what Gamer Muscle uses. And Sim Racing 604 uses the AccuForce. So all your big sim racers use any of these direct drive wheels. All right, so all of these direct drive wheels are good, and if you want a comparison as to which one is better, then go to Sim Racing Garage, where it compares the Bardner, this one here, the Sim Racing Force, and then the OSW, which is this one, and Simplicity. He puts them in one category, and then he just compares those. Right. What else can I talk about? So we've touched on the Sim Racing Bay. So where do I get the internal, the black bit, the guts, the bit which connects to your Fanatic USB so that your button boxes work? So that's the black bit that I was pointing to inside the hub. Well, you get it from a separate website called SimRacing Machines. And what SimRacing Machines do is, if you jump onto their new web shop here, is they do two things. You can either send in your old steering wheels. So if you have an old Fanatic wheel or your old Thrustmaster wheel, pay them money and they can convert the wheels for you, kind of like this. So they do not provide the wheel. You send them your wheel, they convert it. But the problem with this is that you will find that with this wheel or with this setup, what I didn't like about the setup is the wheel is then added onto it, but you can no longer use the quick release to swap wheels, if that makes sense. Okay? What I found to be more beneficial to have my setup was I decided to get this particular teensy here. So this is this setup puts the adapter on the shaft of the direct drive, right? Which means that the conversion is not on the wheel. The wheel is intact as it is. Any Fanatic wheel is intact as it is. The conversion itself is actually, if I pull this, lift you guys up again, is actually on this. This is the cable that comes. So that's connected to this actual shaft here. So all your converting is done on the shaft itself. And with this quick release thing, all you need to do is just swap around your Fanatic wheels. So it saved me the trouble of sending them all my wheels, my Fanatic wheels, and going about. Because, so say for example, if you went with the option of sending them a wheel, you would have to send them, say, your Formula rim, and you would also have to send them, say, your GT rim, and then that's $200. So that you're looking at about 300, maybe 400 to convert two rims. And you're stuck with those two rims. If you decide to get a custom rim, then you have to start all over again. Whereas with the option that I went with and putting the adapter on the shaft of the direct drive wheel, it meant that I spend the money once. If you look at this product here, it's about 118 pounds. So that was about 200 New Zealand. So maybe a little less, maybe 180 US. And then if you look at the pictures, this is what the internals look like. So it looks like that. This is the little tinsy that tricks your pedal shifters on your Fanatic to think that it's still connected to a Fanatic wheelbase when it's not. This is what the back looks like. This is the bit that I was pointing at inside. This is it sitting inside the SimRacing B adapter. So actually, if we do, while we're on that, if we come to SimRacing B and we go to their products over here, and then we go to components, and then you look here for the adapter right here. All of these, it gives you options to purchase them, but when you come here, it tells you to go to OSW kits. It will not allow you to purchase this adapter, but this is what the adapter looks like on its own, right? And the only way you can get it in stock for OSW motor kit orders, and it can be chosen from the drop-down menu. And if you look at these photos, that's sort of how it sits and how it connects to your OSW wheelbase, kind of like how it's connected to mine. And that's it there with just a normal stock Fanatic Formula rim with a quick release over there. And that's sort of how it all sits. So that's the setup that I have. But the electronics, the teensy that allows your rim here to be able to connect and to work into your PC is this. We're back on the SimRacing B website, and that's what we're looking at here, right over here. And there are full instructions online as to how you put it all together. It took me only about 10-20 minutes of just taking my time looking through it and connecting it all together. Right. So the reason I went this way is it cuts down costs. I got my direct drive wheel. I spent maybe an extra $200 on the little teensy adapter one-off, and then on top of that, I was then able to use Fanatic rims. Now the beautiful thing with Fanatic rims is they're all over the internet, from eBay, from social. People are getting rid of their Fanatic gear all the time. You can pick up club sport rims for real cheap, right? You can also just get, if you don't want to do that, get a universal adapter like I did here, and get a cheap solid Momo wheel or anything, and just get your universal adapter, and you've got a steering wheel for under $200. Whereas some of the direct drive custom steering wheels can be at least $600. So research, think about it, have a look at it. Now, another important thing when it comes to direct drive wheels is your cockpit. So we all know about the 80/20 profile cockpits. So these are your, and you can get them from anywhere. If you go, for example, into eBay, so I'll just jump on here, and you type in eBay, and in eBay you type in 4Play, 4PALAY. These guys do competitive prices on chassis, right? And they do them. So this is your 420 profiling, and you're looking at it about $450 US. You can do ones that come with seats. They'll be a little more pricey, but that comes built in with your seat as well. So that's an option to get into that, and this will be sturdy enough to do it. And if you have a look, and the beautiful thing with 420 that we all know and love is it's modular. You can add extra bits to your 420 for your handbrake, your steering wheel, your button box, all that other kind of goodness. But I found out about these guys here, which is Simitech. And the Simitech K2 cockpit is arguably just that little bit cheaper. But aesthetically, it looks a little nicer, in my opinion. You can get one with a seat, but that costs that little bit more. But I just got the vanilla K2 cockpit over here. And trust me when I say this, it handles direct drive wheels perfectly. And the guys are nice enough that when you're ordering them, if you email them and you let them know, they can actually pre-drill the direct drive holes in there so it fits. So I got this. It's sturdy enough to hold a direct drive wheel. However, I had to do modifications to the mounting plate here and drill extra holes so my direct drive wheel could sit on it. So that's another thing. Do you have drills? Do you want to do any work? Do you want to do any drilling? So that's what I had to do, but that was all I had to do. So this is another option. It looks nice, and that's sort of what I went with, and that's what my 20 Newton meter OSW sits on, and it handles it like a champ. No give, no wobble whatsoever. They also come with accessories, and the accessories include monitor stands. They include a handbrake support. This is specifically for the Fanatic. If you own, say, a Houstonfeld handbrake, then maybe you want to go with this. This shifter support here also doubles as a Houstonfeld. So it's got Houstonfeld handbrake and all of these other more generic type of shifter mounting things. So I ended up going with Simitech. I'm happy with Simitech. I found them to be a little bit cheaper than the 80/20, and they weren't as finicky. When you get your 80/20, it's not going to come assembled. You're going to literally have to put it together and that kind of a thing. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted something that looked a little neater. Another thing is it's very compact, I believe, compared to an 80/20 rig, which are quite big and can be. But it's up to you. So, not to drag on too much and not to make this video too long, but those are the things that I considered when I was shopping around for a direct drive wheel. And I think I will just round off this video. So in conclusion, what you guys need to do is consider the price of what you're doing. Watch out for your hidden costs, things like import duties. Shop around, look around on online sites. And if you actually make a spreadsheet, pick what strength of direct drive wheel you want to go for, then ask yourself, what am I going to use for a button box? What am I going to use for a steering wheel? Compatibility. Make sure that if you already have pedals, are your pedals compatible with your direct drive, or are you going to be needing adapters so you can use your pedals with your computer now. So say, for example, if you plug them in the Fanatic base, that base is gone. So are you going to be needing to get an adapter so you can plug it into your PC? That sort of a thing. Why do you need a direct drive wheel? Are you doing it because you want that extra immersion? Great. Are you doing it because you think you're going to be faster? You're not actually going to be faster. I'm not saying you can't be fast. You can, but it's not going to make you Mario and Diddy overnight or an Alien Racer overnight. What can you keep and use from your old set? So if you already have Club Sport rims and Club Sport steering wheels and you've invested that money, maybe you want to go SimRacing B and just get the new direct drive, the hub, and you can keep using your Club Sport stuff. Search the forums online for bargaining, and also all of these direct drive wheels are great. They're all fantastic. They are all amazing. Um, there is a difference between them, but compared to the consumer stuff, it's a huge jump ahead, and so you can't go wrong. All the major YouTubers use all three brands. Gamer Muscle uses Simplicity. SimRacing Bay is used by Jimmy Broadband and William Marsh from SimRacing Paddock. And SimRacing 604, he uses the AccuForce. So you can't go wrong. All right, with that being said and done, I think I'm going to cut this video. I've talked a way lot longer than I want, and I'm feeling parched. I hope that was helpful. If you guys have questions, please comment below, ask the questions, and hopefully I can chime in and help you guys. Like the video if you found it helpful, and yeah, please subscribe to the channel. I can maybe even do a mini video just to talk you through some of the other stuff that I had encountered when I was sort of doing my setup in my rig and all that other kind of stuff. Anyways, thanks for that. Cheers and peace out.